What first inspired my interfaith ambitions, I guess, was I grew up in an art museum, essentially. My mom became a docent at the Indianapolis Museum of Art when I was, single digits. And I would spend hours with her going through the museum, helping her prepare for her different tours. And there's art from all over the world there. There's art from Egypt and from the Middle East and from the medieval times, and then you have a whole floor that's completely modern. And as I would go with her, she would explain to me where they came from, and in order to really understand and appreciate the art, oftentimes you had to understand the religious significance. You had to understand the meaning that the artist was trying to convey. That was the basis and the foundation of my interfaith life, was that culture was interfaith. Life was interfaith. We're all influenced by the culture around us, and often that is influenced by religion and ideology.
So I grew up in a Hindu and Sikh family. It was certainly different because I had to learn two different religious languages. I grew up with two pretty similar cultures, but some traditions and practices obviously differed. My family was a bit at conflict with one another, more of the conservative Hindu side with the Sikh side. And that's what kind of led my parents to come to the United States and have me here. But particularly going abroad, on average once a year to India, and throughout my college life getting to go to places like Morocco, Spain, Italy, Korea, Japan, you name it, and I got exposed to something completely different every single time. And I think that absorption of difference was very positive to me, and it got to a point where I could really continue to say that it would build upon my own identity and my own identification to my faith.
I was a student of religious studies, and I really enjoyed the content that I was learning, but I didn't feel like it was the whole story. So we were reading about Islam, but we weren't actually meeting and interacting with any Muslims. And so interfaith was kind of an extension of my studies and a way to get out of the classroom and out of textbooks and into real-life houses of worship and actually engaging with the community. Once I showed up in the Interfaith Council on my campus, I noticed pretty quickly that I was the only non-Christian and non-religious person there. And so being someone who identified as an atheist at the time, I had to kind of put on the hat of representing atheism to a group of people that weren't very exposed to it before. And so that really motivated me to stay in the conversation and to put a positive face to this identity that wasn't talked about very much.
I witnessed some religious intolerance just off of my campus during my college years and saw a Muslim student get assaulted in front of me. And he kept saying, they told me to go home. Where do they want me to go? I'm from this state. And that really kind of changed everything for me. I changed my major, started looking into the crossroads of our faiths, but also looking into how America is this great pluralistic society and how we can move forward with our differences but our similarities at the same time. So we started something led by students for students. Started with a group of maybe 10 of us, different religions, and focused on our commonalities, and then we went out and we did service projects.
There were two big world events that helped to widen my perspective on, who I am and how I relate to other people. I asked my parents, I want to get involved, and so they would drive me out to the city where I joined, a group of activists, I guess. I was often the youngest person there. But it was also the very first time that I met Jewish people in real life. And I remember, meeting a couple, and one of them, I don't remember if it was the husband or the wife, but one of them was a child of Holocaust survivors. And, they told me that's why they were there, like on behalf of their parent. And I thought, wow, like here are people who, the news always tells me are hating Muslims and hate Muslims. And yet here they are, because of their Jewish background, standing up for Muslims and Catholics as well.
For me, it was very interesting going to Israel. It was my first trip in general, and moreover, seeing all of the non-Jewish communities that lived there. We went to the north and went to an Ahmadi mosque, an Ahmadiyya mosque, which was fascinating. And speaking to the imam about the ways in which he was reading the Quran and studying the Quran and interpreting the Quran meant a great deal. We visited a Druze community that was also in the north, and they are an interesting group that spans Syria and Lebanon and also northern Israel. And hearing about how nationalism comes into play in their religious traditions, such that they feel national identity to whatever state they're a part of, and yet can sometimes be parts of states that don't get along very well, was remarkable and challenging and meant a lot. We saw the Baha'i Gardens because one of the great Baha'i centers of the world is also in northern Israel. And then we saw a number of holy sites for the Jewish people as well. And I was overwhelmed. I was confused, I was uncertain, I was filled with awe and inspired to learn more.
I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, and my mom is Roman Catholic, and my dad is a peculiar form of American Jewry, which is called humanist Jew. And that was a really powerful experience for me, not least because it didn't come without challenges. I remember very clearly that at my first communion, the priest asked my family to come join me up at the altar. And my mom and her side of the family came up, and my dad, and this is the only time I remember him being in a church, stayed in the pews. And as a 7-year-old, that was really hard for me to understand why my father wouldn't come join me to celebrate my first communion. And it was his task to explain to a 7-year-old why he felt that he did not want to come up and present himself as part of the Catholic community.
The Bhagavad Gita is one of the sacred texts of Hinduism, and in that is this line that says, Sarvasya chaham hridishan nivishta, which means God resides in the heart of all. And so growing up, that was kind of the underlying philosophy that my parents shared. Of course, I didn't know those exact words when I was 6 years old, but those seeds were planted early. So when I was at the University of Illinois, I had the chance to participate, and I think we called it Interfaith Day of Service. It was like many other volunteer opportunities at the university, but then what was different about it was afterwards we debriefed, we met, and again, similar to the religious roundtable in high school, we had people of different faith backgrounds meeting, but more importantly, we had a common entry point for the conversation. So we really got to experience and discuss the role of service in each of our religious backgrounds.
9/11 happened, and I was back in my hometown, in my community, working at a religious bookstore when we all of a sudden started getting, phone calls and alerts. But then we started to hear stories of kindness, of people pledging their support to make a ring around the mosque to protect it with their bodies if necessary before the police came, from our Catholic neighbors, people who are not Muslim. We heard stories of women who knew each other because of PTA, or people who were just neighbors with other Muslim families who told them, let me pick up your kids from work, from school. Let me, grab your groceries, or I made dinner for you. Like, I'm here for you. I know you on a personal level, and I want you to know whatever your community needs, I want to offer. That changed my whole perspective.